Ladies and gentlemen, in the first part of this video, I'll be discussing the Bitcoin charts, looking into monthly candle closes on a cyclical level to get an idea of what Bitcoin will do next. And then in the second part of the video, I'll be looking into the Bitcoin ETF, specifically taking a deep dive into some of the misconceptions about ETF. Will Bitcoin ETFs drive the price up forever? Will the buying taper down? What is the buying right now as a percentage of market cap for Bitcoin? And is it the narrative or the reality that's actually driving the price up? Big things to discuss today that everyone needs to hear, in my opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Okay guys, before we get into the video today, just a quick few things. VIP group on Telegram for altcoin trading signals. If you're interested, the link is down below. We've got all the information and trading results on there. Fully transparent. I show you the results. You're not buying blind here. 78.52% win rate over 16 months of trading history. Check it out. Then we've got BitGet and BingX, both of the exchanges for this YouTube channel. Both have the referral links down below for a 15% trading fee discount and up to 5,000 USD in rewards. BingX is global non-KYC and BitGet is global minus the USA. And then finally, the bull market sale for the Crypto Academy Become a Trader 10-unit course. If you want to learn how to trade, that's where you can do it. The website shows you everything you need to know. We'll look at those things at the end of the video again, but before we get into the content today, I want to quickly give you a preface for this video and also tell you what my next videos will be on so you can subscribe and stick around and wait for them. My next two videos will be, one, mid-cap and high-cap altcoins. So my altcoin portfolio. I've already made a video on my low-cap altcoin portfolio, but I'm going to be showing you what mid-caps and high-caps I have. And then the next video will be about the 4-year cycle, because I take very much interest in this poll I did a day ago. 1,300 votes, and 55% of people think the 4-year cycle will break this cycle. That's big, right? Because the 4-year cycle is currently still active. So breaking the 4-year cycle will be a deviation from a trend that Bitcoin has sustained since the first halving in 2012. So again, altcoin video and 4-year cycle video, looking into it more in depth than I have before. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video today. It's not going to take very long today, but it is a very important topic that requires a dedicated video. Today, I'm going to be discussing the ETF, right? But specifically, looking at charts, looking at some weakness we're seeing on Bitcoin TA right now, and looking at the big question, can Bitcoin actually go downwards anymore? I know it sounds like a ridiculous question, and asking that question 6 months ago would have been just completely preposterous. But now we're in a situation where ETF buying is so strong, so vicious, that it has led to a massive uptrend, since September here. The ETF narrative pushed Bitcoin upwards from September through to November or December. Through to January, sorry. And then from January, we've been seeing ETF buying, which has pushed us up further. We're upwards here on Bitcoin without correction, no correction here, pretty much whatsoever, other than a brief correction in January, of 158%. This is what we're facing here, a huge rally. We've just seen the biggest monthly candle close in years, a monthly candle that stemmed from base to top around 43%. The only thing comparing to that in this chart right here is a monthly candle in October 2021, which was around, I think, 41% or something like that, 40%. And look, fact of the matter is Bitcoin's on a bullish rampage. One of the main reasons for that is, as I said, ETF reality and ETF narrative before the reality, before it was approved. So what happens here? Well, we need to look at the charts first. First and foremost, it's very important people look at this monthly chart and take it very seriously. Because this monthly candle close, although it was massively bullish, right, a 43% close is not something to be joked around about. That is huge. It's also showing us something, right? Where did the monthly candle exactly close? The monthly candle closed exactly on top of the highest monthly candle close Bitcoin's ever had, right back here. And what you'll notice as well is that candle, which led to that prior highest candle we've ever closed out on the monthly chart, was a 40% monthly candle, very similar to the 43% candle we're seeing now. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, look, we can reject after seeing a 43% monthly candle. We did the same thing in October 2021 in the peak bull market with a 40% candle. So just because Bitcoin went upwards massively last month, it doesn't mean it needs to go upwards again this month. It could very certainly go downwards from a TA perspective at least. So that's the first thing, right? We saw a great monthly candle close, but ultimately we closed right on top of resistance. And obviously you don't buy at resistance. That's a general rule of thumb in investing and trading. You don't really buy at resistance. Now, on top of this resistance, and we can look at this further in a second, but on top of this resistance, we've got things like very high funding rates, which is generally indicative of a swing to the downside, of a liquidation map heavily favoring long liquidations. So if we go downwards, for example, about 20%, 15%, we'll liquidate $1.5 billion in longs, whereas if we do the same to the upside, we'd only liquidate around $500 billion in shorts, meaning that we've got around 3 times the amount of long liquidations to the downside, which is very tempting for market manipulators and whales to send the price downwards to liquidate a bunch of people. That's what generally happens. You don't usually see liquidation maps be unequal like this for a very long period of time at all. Generally, it balances out. Generally, there's an event, a drop, or a pump that balances them out, and right now that event would be a drop. So funding rates are overvalued. Liquidation map suggests a drop. Fear greed index is at the highest level it's been at since the previous bull market in 2021. So all of these things, right, they're bearish indicators. They're indicators of exhaustion. But we need to also understand, we need to give credit to the bullish argument where it's due, that these are all indicators that can stay overvalued, can suggest bearish price action to come for a while, and you can certainly go upwards further while everything is looking like it needs to drop in terms of these indicators, in terms of funding rates, in terms of liquidation map, in terms of fear greed index. These aren't indicators that are telling you we need to drop right now, we can't go any higher whatsoever. They're indicators that tell you, we're going to have to go downwards soon. And so, then you have to look into, well, what do we mean by soon? And that's where you get into TA, but unfortunately the probabilities in TA have been skewed so heavily by ETFs, it's very difficult to do that. But what I can say is, right now we have a situation on a monthly level where we're at resistance here on a monthly level. Forget about daily chart, forget about what happens in the next week, right? On a monthly level, we're at resistance, okay? And until we break that monthly level, at resistance, there's really no certainty at all that Bitcoin will go to all-time highs. Not on this current move, I mean. After a retracement, it certainly will. I do think that Bitcoin is in a bull market. But if we're looking at previous monthly candle closes like this, if we take the highest monthly candle close of the prior bull market, we could do that in 2018. And we could see that, well, it's not all doom and gloom. In 2018, we closed the monthly candle here, and we found that for resistance here in October 2020. It didn't even stop us. It didn't even stop us. We found it at resistance twice. It didn't stop us at all. We went upwards after that. We didn't even drop. You can look at, let me actually see in the daily chart if that's fully true on a shorter term level. I know it's true on a monthly level, but I'm not exactly sure if it's fully true on a shorter term level. So let's just zoom back and see. So yeah, some small points of contention, but mostly we didn't stop. We just continued up to the upside. And that just shows you that was a time of a cyclical bull market. Right here we had an ascending channel formation. If a regular TA was playing out in accumulation phase of the cycle, that would have been a drop right there. But that just shows you the macro trends are always very strong. And that's what we're learning right now in real time. Because right now we are in a macro bull market. Yes, it's been driven by external factors, but it just shows you the macro trends are very strong. If we go back to the prior cycle before that, we can look at something like the 2013 top. We can see that in that occasion, we actually did see some contention at the monthly candle. We saw 3 months of sideways before finally getting above that monthly candle close. So if we do follow something like 2014, which is actually more like this cycle, by the way, because 2014 was a massive uptrend with no real stop from the bottom, which is much more similar to what we're seeing now. For the most part, a massive uptrend with no proper stop except for sideways, consolidation. That wasn't really a drop though. Whereas 2019, we saw massive consolidation, massive corrections. By the time we got this high, people were ready to buy. They were not scared of anything anymore. They'd already seen the flush out. So I think right now, this cycle is actually more, I know previously we've said it's much more similar to 2019, but I think in this specific occasion, I think it's much more similar to the structure of something like 2016, 2017. And so that's interesting for sure, and that's something we can look into a bit further in future videos. But the main point I'm just trying to make is that we do have patterns of exhaustion forming across multiple charts, and we do have Bitcoin at monthly chart resistance. Now, we also, by the way, just to put in some extra arguments here, have a very strong resistance zone of a daily chart RSI, which we haven't broken above since 2017, I believe, that we've rejected from recently. Again, none of these arguments are saying that Bitcoin should go down right now, because then none of them are immediate term arguments. There's not like a wedge formation that we're looking to break down from within 3 days. They're just arguments that show you quite clearly, okay, Bitcoin is overvalued here. Now, it can continue being overvalued, and external factors might support that, but it's very clear that the charts are not in a position of where Bitcoin is undervalued and needs to go up. No, the investor sentiment is in that position. People think Bitcoin's undervalued, otherwise they wouldn't be buying. But the charts are showing you, well, they're actually overvalued, and we can stay like this for a while, especially when there's a quote in cryptocurrency, something to do with, I can't remember exactly, but it's like something to do with the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain logical or something like that. Now, I don't fully agree with that quote, but I think in situations like this where you have a very, very clear pusher of price action, the ETF narrative and ETF reality, yeah, okay, that's probably a quote that's going to be true in this occasion here. So am I suggesting Bitcoin's going to go down tomorrow? Not necessarily, but I do think there will be a correction, a sizable correction, and I do think that correction could take us to targets like 57.5k and like something like 53k as well, right? Those are targets that are very realistically on the table for Bitcoin. Here's where we get into the main topic matter. Sorry, it's taken 9 minutes to get there, but I'm not overly convinced at all that just because we have ETFs, Bitcoin can't go down. Okay, I think that's a ridiculous thing to say. A lot of people are saying Bitcoin's never going down again, right? We're only going to go upwards from here, or at least for the foreseeable future. We can't see corrections because why would we? People will just buy the ETFs more and send the price upwards. Yeah, ETFs are huge, right? They are huge. They're very, very big. They're leading to massive, massive inflows. And if we look at how much they actually own, let me see how much the ETFs actually own right now in Bitcoin. There's got to be a chart here that shows you at 25 billion by Grayscale, but I think they're selling off. BlackRock 7.5 billion. Anyway, we can maybe look at that another time, but the fact of the matter is people are buying a lot of Bitcoin, okay? But here's the reality of it, right? Just because people are buying a lot now, just 2 months after the release, and while Bitcoin is in a massive rally, yeah, and that rally, yeah, you say it's actually driven by ETFs, but the reality is this rally is not driven by ETF buying. This rally is driven by retail investors reacting to ETF buying, okay? If you look at the amount that has actually been bought in spot ETFs, it's no more than, they're going to send the price upwards 2%, right? It's huge numbers. These numbers are big, right? Inflows, 600 million, 500 million, 500 million. Guys, the Bitcoin market cap is 1.2 trillion US dollars, okay? It sounds like a lot of money when you say 600 million, but it's actually not in terms of the market cap. This is less than 0.1% of the price, or 0.01% of the price, I believe. I'd have to check my maths there. But the fact of the matter is, it's actually 0.03, I believe. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, it's not actually as big as the number suggests. When you say, $200 million in inflows today, it sounds huge. But when you're putting into account the fact that the market cap is 1.2 trillion, it's actually a very, very small fraction of the price. It's moving the price up very, very small amount. The reason the price is moving up so fast is not because of ETF buying. It's because people are reacting to ETF buying. They're seeing these big numbers and they're thinking, that's huge. That's not going to stop. I'm going to buy here. Now, that's not an argument for Bitcoin going down. It's just an observation of reality. If you understand basic mathematics, you know very well that $200 million, which is the average daily inflow, by the way, if we're taking this whole chart as an average, around 200 million, is not a large percent of 1.2 trillion, okay, at all. But obviously, when you see it on a day-to-day basis, it's going to have an effect on price action. It's going to skew some of those probabilities. When we see an ascending wedge formation, we have an extra $200 million per day that's just coming in and buying. Yeah, it's a small amount of buying, but it could just skew that probability of breaking up or down just a little bit more to the upside. And on a large enough scale, that will send the price flying. But right now, I think the main thing that's driving price action is actually the narrative of ETFs, okay? Not the reality of ETFs. The reality is the 200 million per day. The narrative is the millions of people reacting to $200 million per day and putting in $1 billion of buy orders because of the 200 million per day. That's a very important nuance to understand. Now, it's also very important to nuance to understand that just because people have ETFs and just because ETFs are generally a long-term hold type thing, that doesn't mean they can't sell. And we can see ETFs very easily, we've actually seen it before, exacerbate downside price action just like they've exacerbated upside price action. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's like going to happen all the time, because it's not. Generally speaking, ETFs are going to be a bullish thing. Generally speaking, ETFs are going to be buying, but people can sell their ETFs as well. So it's not like it can't go down. It's not like if Bitcoin dropped down into a bear market, people would just keep buying the ETF. That's not really the case. But yes, I understand very well, before people spam me in the comment section about the last 3 sentences, that ETFs are generally long-term hold. And generally speaking, people just buy it and leave it. So yes, the vast majority of the inflow of the volume is going to be positive, bullish volume. I understand that very well. And yeah, so basically Bitcoin has a permanent, I suppose, it depends how well they market it, right? We have to remember as well that we are in a bull market right now. We have to remember as well that ETFs have just come out 2 months ago. They're doing marketing campaigns actively. it's hard to predict how well the ETF inflows will keep up over time. You know, maybe in a year from now, people won't really be interested in buying by ETFs. Maybe they're buying 20 million per day on average rather than 200 million. You know, so when does this taper off is what I'm saying. Does it go like this forever, or does the buying, do the inflows taper off? We don't really know at all. So there's a lot of doubts. There's a lot of questions about it. But for the most part, if we're talking about logical investors who actually know what they're doing with the market, they're not going to be buying via ETFs. They're going to be buying via exchange where they can have personal custody of the assets, okay? Because you don't have personal custody of the assets via ETF. That's a big point as well. But yeah, I just wanted to clear up a few things about ETFs. It's certainly a bullish thing, that's for sure. But it's not like the reality of ETF is like, you know, going to send the price to Bitcoin to 1 million this year. No. If anything, it's the narrative that's really driving the price upwards. So, you know, what happens here? Do people keep talking about the ETFs constantly, and does the narrative survive, or does the narrative die? I don't necessarily know. Do they market the ETFs well and the inflows keep coming in, or is this just because they're new? I don't necessarily know. There's a lot of questions, but it's not as simple as people are making out to be, where they're saying, oh, this is it for Bitcoin. It's just going to $1 million now because of ETFs. It's really not that simple. So I think it's important to understand those nuances. But guys, I think I've covered these topics pretty well in this video today. So I appreciate you guys watching. We do have a bullish pennant on Bitcoin, so Bitcoin will be moving quite soon. That's worth watching as well. But just again, go ahead and check out the Crypto Academy bull market sale. Want to learn how to trade? That's where you can do it. It's an educational course. BingX and BitGet, my referral links are down below for 15% trading fee discounts. And then finally, the VIP group to trade altcoins if you're interested. Thank you guys. Have a good day.